Hi, everyone in the higher health community. I'm joined here with my friend and colleague, Carly Cooper, who has founded a system called the Conquer Anxiety System. This is a passion project or passion topic for both of us, speaking about anxiety and the different ways we support our clients through. And so today we just want to have a casual conversation over tea, coffee, and chlorophyll water about some of the tools we use in our respective practices. And specifically, I want Carly to share her insights and practice pearls on essential oils and how she sees them work within her system. So is that a good intro, Carly? Is there anything more?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Tell us a little bit more about the Conquer Anxiety System, just as a bit of a foundation.
Yeah, so I created it because it was utilizing all the tools and strategies that I needed to get myself out of a state of anxiety. And for me, I was anxious when I was working in the corporate world because I knew in my heart it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I stayed with it. And I had panic attacks, and I was always worried about the worst case scenarios and all of those things.
Ooh, we have.
About anxiety as we are now. And I went to see my doctor, and she prescribed me a medication that I knew in my heart I didn't want to take. And, I always say medication, there's a place for it. But for me, I felt like it was an extreme, the only thing that was being offered. And I just felt in my heart that it wasn't something that I needed. And so I wanted to take a natural approach. And so that's when I started to look into different natural solutions, and I came upon essential oils. I tried a bunch of brands. I landed on one that really worked for me. And I started utilizing them to really help manage the symptoms that I was experiencing with anxiety. So that was lack of focus, stomach aches, IBS. I couldn't sleep. I had headaches all the time, and I didn't want to take pills all the time to help myself.
Mhm.
And so once I started using the oils and they were working for me, that really became the first step, was managing my symptoms of anxiety. But then I had to really get under the hood, so to speak, and understand what was causing my anxiety. What was the root cause? And that's where I really started to work on and learn about and immerse myself in the mindset world. Because it's our thoughts, it's our beliefs that we've been taught and told and we see all around us. It's our fears, it's the stories we tell ourselves that create the anxiety that we feel. And
Yeah,
so in order to
absolutely.
really shift that, we have to become aware of what that is for us.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, people need support connecting their thoughts to their body and then expressing it out. So having certain tools to help connect that piece is so important. And we're soul sisters in that regard. I remember the moment I was sitting in a medical office and I was not functioning. I was in university, and I just the only answer was a medication. And I remember the lighting, it was dark and kind of
Yeah.
dingy, and that I remember helplessly saying, well, isn't there a test? I knew that this was going to be prescribed going into the appointment, but isn't there a test? How do you know that's the right one for me? And well, it'll take 6 weeks to act, and if it doesn't work, we'll switch you. And I remember how terrified I was to put a brain chemical into my brain, and them not really know if that was the right one. And so I think that really fueled my pursuit as a naturopathic doctor to really embrace a more holistic approach to it.
And
So
that, I think, is so important for everybody to understand.
mhm.
And if you find that medication works for you, there's no shame in that.
Yeah.
But to understand that there's options. And unfortunately, when you go to a traditional doctor, and it's only because it's all they know, it's not their fault, but there seems to be one cookie cutter approach where it's like, try this pill. If this one doesn't work, try this one, try this one, try this one. And it often isn't the right solution, and it can create more side effects, which can create more anxiety. So it's like you're on this vicious cycle. And
Right.
I think what's important to understand is that you really have to just try and be your own advocate and trust your gut. And if something doesn't feel right, then to just continue to explore options. And there are a lot of options out there. You just have to have almost the courage to say, that doesn't feel right for me, and I'm going to keep going.
Right. And often it's a complementary approach. So,
Yeah.
yes, medication can and does work. It's not the only piece of the puzzle. And I find that all the other tools and advocacy, like you and I, we are advocates for people who are going through this. Sorry, in addition to them being their own advocate, I think we are so passionate to help people and to advocate, to teach them how to advocate and to bring in these tools, because you can lower medications, or um, you can have a beneficial effect before increasing a dose, when you can bring in all the other pieces.
And that's why I think the mindset piece is so crucial, whether you're on medication or not, because medication or the essential oils or whatever approach you're taking for the symptoms is just to manage the symptoms,
Mhm.
but you have to get to the root cause if you want to have lasting transformation,
Yeah. And even
right? Like if
research
you,
shows that the cognitive process, which would be the mindset you're talking about, as well as therapeutic agents, are most effective.
right. And that's why I incorporate both in my Conquer Anxiety system, because it's not just one or the other. Because if you just jumped into the mindset stuff, but you're so hyper focused on the fact that your stomach hurts, or you can't breathe properly because you have heart palpitations, or you're so wound up,
Mhm.
you're not in the right state of mind to have the mindset shift and to do the work that's required. So
Mhm.
it's almost like start with the symptoms, because that can create a lot of the anxiety, is just having a symptom. And
Mhm.
then once you can manage that in a safe way that's really fast acting, then you show up and you can do the work,
Yeah.
because it is work. Like it's I mean, I've been immersed in the personal growth and development field for over 3 decades, and I teach the stuff and I breathe the stuff,
Mhm.
but I have to do it myself. Like I'm not immune to a human emotion. And
Mhm.
I practice it every single day. I just am more resilient because I know the stuff, but I'm not immune to it.
What
So
a great tagline, as I live and breathe essential oils, because you're breathing them in.
yeah,
I was so
yeah,
hot today, and the air conditioning doesn't come back into my office here, and so I went and got my peppermint oil, and
yeah.
oh my gosh, it felt so good, and just a state shift that then refocuses you.
Well, and that's crucial. That's really what it's all about. If you can get, because anxiety is future based thinking,
Yeah,
right? It's what if, worst case scenarios,
yeah.
waiting for the shoe to drop, trying to prepare myself for the worst.
Hmm.
So if you can bring yourself back into the present moment by putting peppermint and feeling that and actually paying attention to the sensation,
Hmm.
then you're in this moment now
Hmm.
rather than future unknown uncertainty. And if you can be in this very moment and you can look around and pay attention to the sights and the smells and the sounds and all of that, then whatever you're going through, even if it's not great,
Hmm.
you're safe in that moment. You're okay. You can handle it. It might be ugly, it might not feel good, but you can handle it.
Hmm.
And so much of what anxiety is that future based unknown, which we feel like we can't handle it because we don't even know what it is.
Yeah. Actually,
So that's a really good strategy
yeah, I
to
love, sorry, I'm a little delayed there. I loved that one exercise that I hope we cover it today, the five senses.
mhm.
So pick five things that you can smell, four things. So if you can walk us through that at some point in the
Yeah,
call.
I mean, I can do it now if you want.
Sure. Hey, let's do that.
It's the present moment exercise. I mean, there's many variations about it on it. I didn't make it up, but
Mhm.
basically, it's again trying to get you out of your head and out of the panic mode and back into the present moment. And so it's really tapping in to the five different senses. And so the first thing is if you can ground yourself and just focus on, so it's called 5 4 3 2 1. Like that's the technique. So it's 5 things that you can see. And the idea is, if you're alone, preferably, to say them out loud, to really be mindful of it. So I see my computer, I see my water bottle, I see a bag, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just calling out 5 things that you see. And then it's 4 things that you can touch. So I can touch my hair, I can touch my shirt, I can touch my hands, call it out. And then it's 3 things that you hear. So then you may have to like be mindful of that, right? I hear the phone, the street, I hear my breathing. 2 things that you can smell, and then 1 thing that you can taste. And so if you go through that exercise, I mean, it might feel like we've got 1,000 thoughts a second coming into our brain, but really you only have the ability to think 1 thought at a time, right? So if you can do the 5 4 3 2 1 whenever you feel like a panic is starting, or you want to prevent it, or you want to catch it before it gets to a level 10, then just start with 5 4 3 2 1, and you can write it on a card and carry it with you. So it's 5 things you see, 4 things you touch, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste.
Yeah, it's so great. It's a good reminder to do when you're on a walk. It's just really easy to remember how it slowed me down in that moment when I was practicing it. So it's a great tip. And then also, I recently learned that any period of discomfort or any panic attack, it actually only lasts for 60 to 90 seconds. So if you can sit through that discomfort and not resist it, it's going to pass in 60 to 90 seconds. If you attach to it and your thoughts are going, and you're going to create more 60 to 90 seconds. So just really knowing that any period of discomfort typically lasts for that long is useful. I know when my daughter is having a moment, if I know now, or knowing now that, okay, it's just 60 seconds of discomfort and she'll be good. And you know, kids, how they just toddle off and they're good.
Yeah.
It's really neat. So,
well, it's an important reminder too. And what you said too, is to just let it ride, because it's so true that if we try so hard to resist any kind of discomfort or any kind of pain, and so we'll numb ourselves out, or we'll avoid it or repress it. But when you do that, like sweeping a little dust bunny under the rug, if you keep doing it, it just turns into this bigger dust bunny. Whereas if you just swept it and got rid of it, it'd be gone. So I think it's such a good point that you bring up, that it's so key to just allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling without judgment. And comparing it to a child's tantrum is perfect. And I've done that so many times. It's like, just let them cry it out. Let them like freak out without like, I mean, I understand it's more uncomfortable when you're in public, right? But still, it'll pass. And then we're the ones left with like, right? But if you can just allow it, because whatever you resist persists.
I love that quote. I was about to say it too.
Yeah.
So then this brings in the oils, because the oils are a tool that can allow you or help you to sit in that discomfort, but switch your thought process, because it's touching on those 5 senses. I know the peppermint, I felt it on my skin. I felt it in my eyes, smelt it obviously. And so what are your favorite oils specifically for symptoms of anxiety?
So there's a blend that is my go-to blend. It's called Adaptive, and it's got a bunch of different oils in it. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but it's really amazing for transition and adapting to new situations. So if you feel like, I mean, now is such a timely time for adapting to new situations and having to pivot. And so that's a really good one to diffuse, or you can put it on your pulse points or breathe it in. It comes in a supplement form too, but if we're just talking oils, then it's really effective. Lavender is always a go-to for calming and relaxation and to help with sleep. Another blend called Balance, another one called Serenity. These are very grounding, very calming oils. So I like to diffuse them at night. Typically at night is when I need to calm my mind and help me sleep. And so just putting a couple of these oils or a couple drops in a diffuser really helps to calm my racing mind and quiet that and allow me to relax. And also a lot of the citrus oils like wild orange or lemon or grapefruit or lime, any of the citrus oils, bergamot is one of my favorites as well. Those are very uplifting. So if you need a mood booster, if you're feeling down or low energy or just sort of blah, breathing in any citrus oils will give you that natural, like, oh, like
Hmm.
there's hope. Like I feel good again, right? And like I said, it's a quick fix solution, but
Hmm.
it's a safe way to give yourself that extra support, that mood boost that you need every day. And you can do it multiple times a day. You don't have to, you're not going to get addicted to essential oil. I mean, maybe just because you love them so much, but there's no dependency. There's no like physical or chemical addiction that can happen with it. And they're safe to use. So um,
I
they
love the
really help.
lime. I'll put it under my nose in between sessions, and
Yeah.
it just, like you said, just it's uplifting. I love the smell. It's refreshing.
And
Um,
they trigger the limbic system, which is the emotional part of your brain, right? So a lot of the times when you smell something, it'll bring you back to a memory. Sometimes it's a bad memory, but sometimes it's a good memory,
mhm.
right? Like, oh, that reminds me of grandma's house or going to camp or whatever it is. So find those smells
Mhm.
and anchor them for good moments when you need them, right? And it's a really good way to trigger you back into your happy place.
Mhm.
And there's so many different oils and combinations. So it's really a personal choice
Yeah.
of what works for you. So it might be a bit of a trial and error, but those are really my go-tos for like calming and relaxation.
And I also love that it's an action you can take. So
Hmm.
when you're in that moment, you're having the tantrum or feeling or that panic feeling, it's something you can do instead of
Yeah.
just, yes, we want to sit in it and we want to learn what is our mind saying, what are we reacting to, but to have a tool and something you can do to move out of it is powerful.
Well, and so much of what anxiety is feeling out of control.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's a way to take control back by doing something,
Yeah.
right? So, getting out of your head and getting into action in whatever that looks like
Yeah.
is the best way to get out of an anxious state, is to
Yeah.
just take one step forward.
Yeah. And I know that people really like creating their signature blend. So just
Hmm.
as you said, going through really learning what you like, and then that's empowering, knowing this is your blend. Just like you love adaptive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And mhm. So I think we've touched on some really great tools. Is there anything in closing that you'd like to say, or a good story that you have for someone who was new to oils and how they used it to help calm the funk down, as you say, and
Well,
get shift done?
yeah, I mean, again, it's just, I mean, I have thousands of stories, and of course, I can't think of any of them
Yeah.
now. But,
Sorry. Put it on.
just a couple final tips that I can leave you with is if you're feeling anxious, decide how you want to feel instead. Like, really define that. So, is it calm? Is it in control? Is it empowered? Is it what? Find the feeling that you want, and then ask yourself, what do I need to do right now to move closer to that feeling,
Yeah.
right? And listen to what comes up, because a lot of the times as us ambitious type A go-getters, we're always like, I gotta do and I gotta push through this and I gotta keep going. And so if you ask yourself that question and the answer comes to you intuitively, I gotta take a walk, or I need to take a nap, or I need to not do anything else that's going to require bandwidth today.
Yeah.
You have to honor that and not let your mind convince you, but you've got 1,000 other things to do and you have to do, because that's going to feed the anxiety and the overwhelm. So
Hmm.
really try and allow yourself to actually do what your intuition guides you to do. And that's a really hard thing to do at first, but it's gonna save you.
Yeah. And actually, the words, if you're wanting to feel more calm or you want to feel refreshed or happy, chances are there's an oil that will match that. There's a blend name that matches that.
For
So
sure. But again, it comes down to you breathe it, you change the state,
yeah,
but then it's taking positive actions in the right direction to create the lasting transformation in the shift,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because yes, the oils are miraculous and they're wonderful, but they're a piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah. What tips do you have?
For anxiety, um, you know what comes to mind? So okay, put me back on the spot.
When the interviewee becomes the interviewer.
Yes, yes. So one thing that worked so well for me, so I have a long history of anxiety and depression, and really I'm a naturopath because of my struggles there and just seeking a better answer or a more complete answer or support tool. I really, learning about the adrenals as part of the the mind, the brain. So conventional medicine would come in at a medication level to the brain, but the problem really is that root adrenal or mitochondrial issue and cellular support of just becoming exhausted. So learning about adrenal and mitochondrial and part of tuning back into yourself and slowing down is repairing those
Hmm.
two aspects of adrenal and mitochondrial. But one thing that really helped me connect my thoughts to my body, to my inner awareness, was cold plunging. And I see a fit between, as we're talking through this or during this discussion, how cold plunge or what cold plunge was to me is what essential oils were to you.
Hmm.
It's a tool to get you into the present.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of funny, full circle, knowing that today I went to peppermint to refresh myself, which, talk about cold plunging, which is immersing yourself in cold water. Sorry for my camera here. And peppermint being such a cooling, refreshing
Yeah.
oil.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so just
If you
tools.
can't get to a lake or a shower, it's your next best thing.
I'll just douse the peppermint all over me. Yeah,
Yeah.
beware.
Yeah.
I mean,
Perfect.
it
It'll
does
smell
smell.
you from a mile away, but it's a good smell.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess my camera timing out here is a good sign that we've had such a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And for any questions that come up after watching or while watching this video, please post in the comments below, and both Carly and myself would be happy to answer.
Yes.
So thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.